All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to this week's edition of Fights Unwrapped. I have my co-stars beside me. We have Ali Carr and Dustin Hunt with me today, and we are going to discuss a lot of UFC headlines, a lot of good ones. So please stay tuned for that. And then we're going to break down UFC Vegas 47, Hermansson versus Strickland. All right, so before we do that, I know, right? Ali Carr is already showing his dismay for the main event. So before we do that, we are going to start off with our sponsors. So for our first sponsor, what's called really sad about Carlos Condit being retired right now, but he's a huge proponent of RX Hemp. And if you use our promo code RXHemp-USN, you can get 10% off your orders, premium CBD products. So please go and get on that for sure. And also, whoever is making bets on this weekend's fights, you can go to mybookie.ag and use promo code USN100 for a 100% sign-up bonus. All right, so we have a lot of headlines to talk about today, and they're really, really good ones. So we'll start off with a really controversial one. So we're talking Francis Ngannou and his next opponent, which is reportedly and rumored to be maybe Jon Jones. So that is a maybe because I know that Stipe Miocic is also in the picture talking about maybe fighting for an interim title. These are still speculations. These are not like full announcements or anything like that, but what's called with Francis and his willingness to want to go and box or to explore other avenues. I'm not sure if we'll see Ngannou versus Jones fight. So, Alec Carr, I'll start with you. Do you have any comments on this potential fight matchup?
The Francis Ngannou is a joke. I'm getting sick and tired of him. I'm getting sick and tired of his comments, his wanting to get paid more, but also wanting to box at the same time as being an active fighter in the UFC. Conor McGregor had terminated his contract with the UFC to go box. Conor McGregor did. So why do you think you're any different? You could always come back to the UFC, but the UFC is not going to terminate your contract to have you go box because they don't think that they can make any money off of it. Dana White does not think they can make any money off of it. So Francis Ngannou, if you want to make more money, take the Jon Jones fight and talk your shit and hype up the fight. Like that's all it takes. I don't think Ngannou wants to fight Jon Jones. Though that being said, the Francis Ngannou we saw in the Cyril Gane fight is one of the scariest dudes in the UFC. Somebody with his power that now has his wrestling talent. That was very, and I think I can speak for everybody here. That was shocking to watch him grapple the way he did with the skill level of his grappling as well was very impressive. It wasn't just like, because Francis Ngannou, though, not Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, don't get me wrong, he's not an elite level wrestler, but the guy has good grappling game, and Francis totally made him look terrible. I was very impressed with that. He should be on a full media blitz right now, and Dana White would love it if he came out and was like, fuck you, fuck the UFC. I told you I was right. I told you I was the baddest motherfucker. Give me Jon Jones. Give me Jon Jones. I'll beat his ass too. Give me whoever you want. If he came out and started talking like that, Dana White would have no choice but to pay him. The Francis Ngannou Jon Jones fight is never going to happen. I don't know who Francis Ngannou is going to fight. I don't think he's destined for the UFC. I think, unfortunately, we're going to see him drop out as one of the baddest men on the planet. Maybe he fights Stipe, but does anybody really want to see that fight? The trilogy. I know I would watch it, but it's not like I'm clamoring for Francis versus Stipe again. Ngannou versus John Jones is a fight to make. I hope it happens. It's going to be a long time, though. I mean, Francis is now saying has to have severe ankle surgery and is going to be out or knee surgery. It's gonna be out for months. So I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. We'll see what happens. He kind of screwed himself because now that he's won, because Dana White is a shady, shisty motherfucker, because now he's won, his contract gets continued and he is not on negotiating terms anymore. So if he wants to make money off his next fight, which should be John Jones, because that's the highest paying fight he has available, he needs to talk his shit.
For sure. Dustin, do you have any comments on Ngannou and a potential Ngannou John Jones fight?
Here's where I have to disconnect with Francis Ngannou. I don't get why he would ever put it out of a fan's mind that he's going to fight John Jones. Why would you ever do that? Even if you weren't going to do it, you shouldn't be saying it publicly. You should never say that as a fighter. You should never be like, I'm never fighting this guy. That should never happen. A boxer shouldn't do it. A MMA guy shouldn't do it. Any athlete shouldn't do it, especially in the business they're in a business of entertainment and pay-per-view. You should never take a possibility out of a customer's mind. Second of all, with Francis, I don't think he's a joke, because I'm going to tell you right now that's the best heavyweight in the world. I don't think he's a joke. The biggest thing I think of joke is that he expects to make something offering nothing, which I kind of agree with Alec there. Now that wrestling performance, he did that on a messed up knee, and it is confirmed that his knee it was messed up when he walked in. Well, again, he did that with a messed up knee. If he was healthy, I don't even want to see what happened next. And you know how big Cyril Gane is. He picked this man up like he was a child and literally dumped him. Like that was pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. I'm with Alec there. I don't know what to say about that. That was crazy. Now here's the thing about Francis. You don't burn the bridge with Dana. John Jones to death of me, yeah. Oh, of course. Any of us, dude. Any real fight fan knows John Jones is the fucking man. When it comes to Francis, dude, you can't burn bridges with Dana. Like, you can't. Once you start arguing with Dana, he will work double time to fuck you over. Even in his own promotion, he will do it. There's champions that he did not want to be champions. There just are. There's people he did not want to be in that seat. And part of his if he keeps that belt, that means he has to be the champion. That's in his thing. He can't just opt out. He has to continually fight, or legally there's going to be some problems. I think he's dumb in the fact of he wants to talk all this shit to Dana. Well, why don't you take all that energy that you talk to Dana and point it at the people you're fighting? Leave Dana alone. Leave the UFC alone. You want more money? They'll give you it, man. Look at fucking Patty the Batty. That weirdo's getting money out here. And you're the most dangerous man in the fucking world, and you're over here not making bread. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me. And it's just his own fault. It's his complete own fault. So if he complains, and that whole boxing shit, dude, as a boxing fan, lay that shit down on the canvas where it was and just leave it, because you're going to get fucked up. You're going to get fucked up. Boxing is not a power punch. You don't hit as hard as these dudes, I promise you. You don't. Deontay Wilder sent people to the hospital. You might have knocked Stipe out with 4-ounce gloves, but if you let Deontay Wilder have a 4-ounce glove, he would send you into the abyss. Like in Infinity War, when everybody disappeared. That's what would happen if he landed a right hand with a fucking 4-ounce glove. He would literally send you into pieces. Like, I would be scared if the dude got hit with that. So why he thinks he can box, I have no clue. And Wilder's still considered lowly. We're not talking about Tyson Fury. So when we get into it, dude, I don't know I don't know if this is what he thinks he should do. I don't know if he thinks this is a good idea. It's not a good business decision. Where are you going to go fight? Where are you going to go fight in MMA, especially the UFC? Now, granted, he might give someone a promotional boost. That just say the PFL just let him in. All right. There you go. He'll probably destroy him. I mean, he destroyed the guys at the UFC. He's probably going to go through the PFL and anybody else. France is just stupid. He's just stupid. I think he doesn't want to fight John Jones because John Jones is a problem. Serious problem. I don't give a fuck how long his layoff was. He steps in the octagon, dude, especially training, it's game over.
Yeah, he's been training for 2 years. Like, John Jones hasn't taken a break. He's been in the gym, in a new gym with wrestlers too. So he's working on that ground game. And the other thing I just want to say real quick, and then we'll move on because I know we got a lot of headlines, is I wasn't trying to say Francis Ngannou is a joke of a fighter. He's just a joke of a human being. He lets his bad management boss him around and tell him things that are just not true. They're just not true. I mean, honestly, his management is steering him into the wrong locations and are violating contracts, may or may not be violating contracts in the process. So, I mean, it's dumb. The whole situation with Francis Ngannou is dumb. Francis Ngannou is listening to bad advice. He needs to hype himself up. Dana White wants to. You have to make Dana White pay you. Dana White doesn't mind being the bad guy if a fighter is selling and making money. Conor McGregor has made Dana White the bad guy multiple times in his come up. He screamed at Dana that he wouldn't give him real opponents, that he was a fucking fraudulent guy. Dana White doesn't mind being the bad guy, but you have to do it in an entertaining way where Dana White's going to make money. You're doing it in a dumb way where you're just may or may not be violating contracts. It's very dumb. If you're entertaining and you're blaming the UFC and you're talking your shit against the UFC doesn't care. The UFC cares about money. That's what they care about. They're a money printing factory. And if you are not getting them paid, if you're mid, the other thing that bothers me about Francis Ngannou, and we can move on, I'm sorry. The other thing that bothers me about Francis Ngannou is the fact that even if fighters got paid more, right? Let's say base fighter pay got raised to $50,000 to $100,000, right? Which means that the top of the line fighters are probably like Francis Ngannou, probably making millions now every single fight instead of $500,000, $300,000. Even if that happened, Francis Ngannou would still not get paid as much as the other guys because he's not marketable. He would still be mid. Yes, he would be making more money, but he'd be making mid-tier money because he's a mid-tier marketable guy. So no matter what the UFC does about fighter pay, you're still not going to make as much as the top-tier guys. You are not Conor McGregor. You're just not, and you got to stop acting like it.
No one's Conor McGregor. I'm going to just put that out.
Yeah, fucking coming out in a $25,000 suit to the weigh-ins. Fuck you, Francis Ngannou. If you want to get paid more money, act like it.
There's only one guy in the fight game that can overtop McGregor in pay-per-view, and that's Floyd. The only fighter that's done it. So I'm talking history, by the way. We're not talking, couple last 10 years. We're talking the history of the fight game. Only one fighter's ever topped it. That's it.
All right. See, already we're off to a really good start with the headlines. Speaking of Conor McGregor, let's move on to the next headline where he says he swears off alcohol. I know, right? I'm shaking my head too when it comes to training because he wants to make a 2022 comeback of a year where he wants to return to fighting. And it's a ridiculous headline, but I had to put it in because I'm like, I don't think anybody should believe this because, okay, I'll go first. Conor McGregor has been shown so many shenanigans, so many late nights, so many bar fights with like random old dudes that won't drink his whiskey. The man is just surrounded by alcohol and probably drugs like all the time. There's been documented evidence that he's been surrounded by drugs. I believe so as well. So why does it make sense? And why is he saying he's gonna swear off alcohol? Exactly. Exactly, Anthony Conover. Thank you for the comment right there. I believe there's a few more comments in here drink his whiskey, then yeah, yeah, there you go. That's Perry Aston, our co-founder for Unwrapped Sports, making his comments. No worries. We got it. We got it. I know it's just a joke. But basically, I don't think this is going to be true. I don't think Conor McGregor is going to change his ways. I personally think that his comeback is not going to be as strong as many people might think it will be, because I just don't think he's the same fighter as he was a few years ago. So those are my comments when it comes to that. We'll start with Alec on this one. What do you think about Conor's, promise to swear off alcohol for his training?
First of all, he owns 2 alcohol companies. He owns Proper 12, and now he owns a beer company as well. Well, he doesn't own Proper 12 anymore. Sorry, he sold it for like $400 million and is still making a $3 million a year salary for being the spokesperson, because he's a genius. And then with that money, bought a beer company, which for the first time in English and Irish history, something has outsold Guinness. Do we understand that? I just want to throw that out there. For the first time ever, Guinness's prices have been outsold as an ale in Ireland and England because of Conor McGregor. That's pretty insane. He's not quitting drinking. The whole thing was part of an announcement of how his ale, his beer company is outselling Guinness. It was all a marketing thing. He doesn't give a fuck about it. He's not going to quit drinking. Maybe he quit it. I know that when he was on his come up, he did not drink or do any drugs while he was training. So maybe he's trying to force himself to get back to that level. I don't know. I hope so. But when you're worth over $500 million, when you're worth $550 million, whatever he's worth these days, it's hard to have that same motivation. It really is. You're going in there risking your life. Every time you step into an octagon, every time you step into the ring, I don't care what anyone says, you're going in there and you are risking your life. When you're worth $550 million, it's a little bit harder to take that seriously. It's a little bit harder to have that motivation because you already have the fucking money. He's worth more than Floyd Mayweather has ever been worth in his boxing career. Let's get that straight. He is worth more. He fought a very limited amount of time and was still the highest paid athlete per minute last year. He's not the same guy. I think he has all the talent in the world still. I think he's still in his prime as far as an athlete level goes. I just don't think he has the motivation anymore. Do I think he gives up alcohol? Yeah, maybe he does. Maybe he does, but it doesn't really matter because he doesn't have that motivation, that heart of a lion that he had on the come up. Because again, he's worth over $550 million. It's 550 million reasons is why not to step in an octagon. It's a lot of fucking reasons.
All right, Dustin, do you have any comments on this whole promise?
I believe he'll cut it off for training camps. I believe he has the willpower to do that. Maybe the 3 months in camp he'll cut it, but lifetime, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. First of all, if you know anything about Irish culture, they drink all the time. Like all the time. It's Europe is a whole different animal when it comes to alcohol. People think Americans like alcohol. No, we don't. No, we don't. Not compared to them. They're pretty serious. That's why Guinness was so big. And when it comes to Proper 12, I'm a whiskey guy, huge whiskey guy. I still think Jameson is the king of Irish whiskey. I still think that's the king. I don't think that Proper 12 is better. I've tasted both. Proper 12 is very good though. Very good Irish whiskey. It's textbook. Like there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not beating the top line Jameson. That's probably not going to happen. But his beer, I'm not surprised to outsell Guinness. Conor just has a weird marketing, and the fact that he could sell Proper 12 for $30 a bottle when it's not even the top notch shit, to be honest. Like when it comes to Irish whiskey, especially, he can sell it for a lot of money because his name's on it, and it's always going to be on it. But cutting it off, that's not going to happen. I don't see that shit for one. Now, should he stay out of the bars? That is a hard yes. Hard yes. Stay out of the bars. Stop punching old dudes in the face. Like, no one professional fighters don't even get a hit by you, man. Quit punching 50-year-old dudes. That's not cool. No, it's not even funny. Like, I'm kind of laughing, but it's not even funny. If I saw a dude get hit, 50-year-old dude get hit by Conor, I'd be like, hey, man, you good? Because that couldn't have been fun. Stay in your house, stay in your big ass house, drink get your little fancy whiskey glass, pour some ice in it, and have a good time at home. Stay out of the bars. But during his fight camp, I think that he'll do it. But I don't think he's going to do it outside. No.
True. All right. So moving on from Conor McGregor to something kind of exciting. We have Henry Cejudo, who is reportedly back in the USADA testing pool, and he is rumored to be making a featherweight comeback. So it's featherweight he's aiming for. So that's going to be interesting. I see Alec Carr's hands raised up in total excitement. I see Dustin nodding his head in excitement too. I'm excited, because he's been talking so mad shit about like just wanting to come back, wanting to face these opponents, and basically we always think that like, oh, if Henry Cejudo faced him, he probably beat him, and we probably be right because he has all the talent in the world. One of the best to ever do it for sure. So basically, Alec Carr, I'll start with you because I know you're obviously a huge Cejudo fan or a huge fan of Cejudo coming back and being part of the fight game again. What do you think about this move right here? Are you excited for him to come back?
I'm very excited. I'm glad you corrected yourself because I'm not necessarily a big Cejudo fan. I'm a fan of Henry Cejudo in the UFC. That's what I'm a fan of. The UFC is more exciting when Henry Cejudo is there. He's the king of cringe. He's self-proclaimed king of cringe. And yeah, it's a facade. It's a role that he plays, and he's even admitted it that it's not him. He even said in one of his tweets leading up to this announcement that he made through Chael Sonnen. That it's all roles and gimmicks aside, Dana White, get me the fuck back in the UFC. It's not really who he is, but it is fun to watch and it is entertaining. With Henry Cejudo is back and when he gets booked to fight, I guarantee you everybody will watch because Henry Cejudo will be running his mouth. And he will get people to watch. This is what Francis Ngannou needs to do. Talk your shit, come up with something that's marketable, and get paid. Henry Cejudo is a great fighter. He is a great, great, great fighter. He beat Demetrius Johnson in Demetrius Johnson's prime. I mean, the guy's an absolute monster. Let's not twist or anything. To see him come back in the featherweight, I would be so excited. We talked a little bit in our chats through some names out there of who we would like to see him fight. I think Calvin Kattar is a perfect matchup for him. I would love to see it. It's a huge matchup for him. It's a big. It's not a gimme fight for a comeback fight to the UFC, but I think that would be so much fun. Calvin Kattar versus Henry Cejudo. It would cause Cejudo problems because Calvin Kattar's obviously got the length on a much smaller fighter, but Cejudo is a monster at getting inside on you. Doesn't matter how tall or long you are, he will figure out a way to do it. The other names that I would throw out there is I would love to see him against Giga. Giga coming off the loss, obviously, to Calvin Kattar. I think that would be an awesome matchup too. So I'm excited. I don't know about you guys. I'm excited. I hope he actually comes back out and goes to town on this division because I think he can beat Volk. I do. I really, really do think he can beat Volk.
All right, Dustin, I can see you're excited for his return too. So what are your thoughts on this?
I love it. I smiled when I saw he was a USC DA testing. I said that wrong. It was a tongue twister a little bit. I'm pretty excited, dude. I'm excited to get it run. If he goes against Calvin Kattar, hey, I'm gonna tell you right now. I told y'all too before that Kattar fight, dude. That boy came back on demon time. He took that Max Holloway shit personal. Hey, bro, he took that shit personal, and it showed, bro. He came back on demon time on that young man. I felt bad for his opponent too. I was like, man, you had to deal with all that pent up emotion that he unleashed on your face. I'm sorry. It shouldn't have happened. You didn't deserve that. I think that him and Volk would be legendary.
Yes.
If he fought Volk, it would be a legendary fight. Crazy. Because I think they're both the same. Like the way they fight, the way they go about it, I think they're both the same. They're both equally talented. Well, okay, whoa. I'm not going to say that Volk is equally talented on the ground. Because I don't know about all that. Because that wrestling, that gold medal, that ain't no fucking joke. And again, if you actually pay attention to fundamental wrestling in the Olympics, those guys are insane. If you're good enough to make the Olympic trials for the wrestling, you're a beast. And but stand up, it's pretty there. And Volk's not no joke when it comes to takedown defense. He'll keep you off him. And he's an agile guy. I think they had the same build. I don't think Volk is very much bigger. I don't think that Henry's any bigger. Especially. I don't think Henry's any bigger. I'd love to see him come back. It's gonna be a pay-per-view. I would not be surprised when he came back and fought. I wouldn't even be surprised if he really did go straight for a champion. Because Dana can talk all that shit he wants, but once you see Henry Cejudo's name next to a championship fight, bro, we're talking 800-900 PPVs at least. Probably going to be 800K to 900K, if not $1 million. So we'll see. And actually, speaking of him, the king of cringe, I'm not going to lie, dude. Some of his Twitter zingers had me crying, dude. I was dying. Dude, when he came back on Conor McGregor, I swear I almost fell out my fucking chair, dude. I was laughing so fucking hard. I was like, bro, he got his ass. That was the first time I've ever seen someone get Conor when it came to the mouth, like the running mouths. Like, he got him horribly. I don't even think Conor responded to it. It was so funny, dude. That was the best. I can't even be mad. It actually almost made me a fan out of him. I swear, while watching him roast Conor like that, I'm this close to being a fan. I'm very, very close to being a fan. He's gonna do well, dude. Whatever fight he comes into, it's probably gonna be a bar burner. It's gonna be a legendary fight. Yeah, dude, bring it on. Can't wait. Hopefully, it's by the end of 2022.
Yeah, hopefully. And fun fact, he was actually cornering Davison Figueiredo, who is now the flyweight champion. So I know we won't talk about that fight because I don't really want to go into it right now, and probably Dustin doesn't want to go into it. It's a huge.
Now I gotta see a fourth fucking fight.
I
I'm
know,
not buying
exactly. It's annoying. Basically, if anyone doesn't know the story, so basically, Cejudo and Moreno were kind of like friends. They were training partners before, and then basically Moreno was like, "Fuck that." He moved on to another training camp, and then like Cejudo and Davison Figueiredo got together, and basically he was cornering Figueiredo's fight. So it was like kind of like a revenge tactic in a way for that. So that's just a little small tidbit on Cejudo cornering Figueiredo, but hopefully we can see him in his fight soon. So
there's only one fighter I'm more excited if they went into the USADA. It's Khabib, because I'm real tired of his fucking mouth. I'm getting real tired of it. That shit he been saying, bro. Eagle FC, bring your ass back to the UFC. You can own that shit. You've been talking loud, bro. I need you to come here. I need you to bring that ass back. I need you to do a 360.
It's a different topic for a different show.
Yeah,
it's an hour topic by itself.
For sure. That would be like the only headline. If we were like gonna do that topic, that would be the only headline, because I know we can all go at it for a long time. So let's talk about the last headline, which these two were talking in the chats right before the show happened. So Bruce Buffer, actually, you know what? I'll get Alec to shed some light onto this topic. So basically, Bruce Buffer was saying how people or fighters get irrelevant when they leave the UFC. So that was basically a comment that he made. That was referring to Francis Ngannou because he was obviously, wanting to go and box and explore different avenues. So that was a comment towards him. But Alec, if you wanted to shed some light, some context.
So Bruce Buffer has a weekly podcast called It's Time podcast. Of course, that's what it's called. And he was talking on it about Francis Ngannou, and they were going. I forget who was on with him, but they were going back and forth, and he was like, here, I'll pull it up. He said, no offense to other organizations, but you become irrelevant once you leave the UFC after a while. Instead of losing in the UFC, your contract is being ended in the UFC and you fall from the octagon down into the Bellators. Listen, we could sit here and argue for 3 hours. Dustin and I could argue about talent disparity between different promotions. We really could. What Bruce Buffer is stating here is that once fighters leave the UFC, they are no longer a relevant fighter within the sports community. And he's 120% right. When Pettis left the UFC, did anybody care about him at PFL? Does anybody really care about Bader at Bellator? Does anybody really care about any of these guys once they leave the UFC and go elsewhere? Well, I mean, Corey Anderson's considered one of the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in Bellator. Are you fucking kidding me? One of the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in Bellator? The guy was barely top 10 in his division in the UFC. He's out of his prime. He's out of his prime now. He's not even in his prime ages. He's old and beat up. So it's just a joke. I've been saying this for years and years and years, and I'm gonna throw a weird metaphor out there that maybe some people won't get, and then I'll let Dustin retort, and I'm sure I'll come back and Dustin will get in, and Monique will chime in too. But okay, so you guys know there's Broadway shows, right? Like Wicked, Hamilton. Everybody you go to Broadway shows, you pay hundreds of dollars for shitty tickets. You do. Broadway shows are expensive. And you know why? Because they're the best. The best talent in the world performs at Broadway shows. When you go off Broadway, like in Philadelphia, like in some of the other cities, it's a heck of a lot cheaper. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. And you want to know why? Because it's not the same level of talent. It's not the same show. It's just not. No matter what we say, no matter how awesome and no matter what we say, and if you go and see, I've seen a bunch of off-Broadway shows, man. I'm a learned man, Perry. I'm a learned man. I've seen a bunch of off-Broadway shows. Then I saw a Broadway show, and I'll tell you what, there's a difference. There's a fucking difference. And I don't care how good the off-Broadway show was, the Broadway show's gonna be better. Doesn't matter if it's the understudies performing in the Broadway show. It's gonna be better because it's the show. And it's getting to the point where the UFC has distanced itself so far from these other promotions. Are the other promotions fun to watch? Yeah. Is it fun to watch Pettis and his brother? Is it fun to watch Bader win? Is it fun to watch these guys fight? Yeah, it's fights, man. Fight fans love them. Fight fans love watching fights. It doesn't matter what level we're watching it. I'll watch bare knuckle fighting. I don't care. Where Lobov is the best fucking fighter, and that's a joke. So I'm always gonna watch. I'm always gonna watch fights if they're on. The issue is different. It's different. It is. It's just different. It's not the same level. I don't care what anyone says. When you're watching UFC and you're comparing it to Bellator, when Corey Anderson's in the top 10 for pound in Bellator, it's a different level. It just is. When Bader was a mid to high mid-level fighter in the UFC, is now the champion of Bellator, it's different. It's just different. Just is.
All right, Dustin, do you have any comments on what Alec just said?
First of all, I do agree about the Broadway shows. I was going to take my wife to one of them, and because I really think she'd enjoy it. And I saw the ticket prices, and I was like, yeah, kiss my ass. I just, it wasn't worth it for me. I'm not even going to lie. That was a good point, though. But here it goes. Fighting is not Broadway. It's not Broadway. So when we talk talent level, this is where I get to. When we talk talent level individually for fighters, what you have on your gloves does not mean shit. It doesn't mean shit. Now, am I saying that the top elite in the UFC is beatable? I don't think John Jones is going to get beat, especially in 205, by any man in the UFC, let alone Bellator, let alone one, let alone Risen, let alone any global promotion. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think Kamaru Usman won't get beat by anybody in the UFC unless it's a bigger guy that he moves up in weight. I think that he will not lose. Here's where a disconnect comes. I don't think I disagree with Bruce Buffer's comments because I do not. Once you leave the promotional juggernaut that the UFC is, it's harder to keep your name up there. Definitely harder because you don't have the money, you don't have the backing, you don't have the casual fan attention. Of course, when you leave, he's right. When you leave the UFC, dude, it's so hard to keep your name on top because it's theoretically impossible because they are the market. They are. There's no way you're getting above a high profile PBV for the UFC. It's not going to happen unless something magically happens that really young talents cross over to other promotions because Dana wants to be a cheap fuck. And that's the only way I could ever think that they can match. But here's the problem with the UFC. They have what I call the Alabama pipeline. Alabama pipeline. They've established themselves around the world. UFC gyms are highly important because when the guys train in there, without even knowing it, they're in the UFC pipeline. So they're literally establishing themselves all over the world. It's hard for anybody else to really garner talent when they do shit like that. So believe me, UFC is on top, and they are superior to a point. Here's my argument with the UFC saying that it's how Dana acts. It's not really Alec. It's how Dana sometimes will act. We'll take the top 15 from the UFC. And believe me, I'm going to tell you right now, the light heavyweight division is not very impressive. It's not impressive. You go beyond the top 4, the shit ain't impressive. If you're telling me that a fighter from the global stage with as much talent in the world there is in fighting that can't come to the UFC and be successful, am I saying they can beat a John Jones? No. No one's going to beat a fucking John Jones. No matter if you try. I don't give a shit where you're from. You ain't beating him. Do I think someone random guy can come in and beat Henry Cejudo? No. You know why? Guys in the UFC couldn't even do that shit, and they have the Alabama pipeline. Not saying the UFC doesn't have superior fighters. They do, especially at the top. But we go pound for pound in that top 15, and then you go outside the top 15 where they've signed 500 fighters that are on bullshit contracts. They're very low. They're there to fill UFC Vegas cards. And if you really want to talk about this UFC Vegas cards, if you tell me that no one else can rival those shitty-ass cards, you're lying. Those are terrible.
Bellator is a Vegas card.
They are without because they don't even.
Worse.
Here's the problem. They don't. No, dude. If you watch these fights, Alec, they are not bad.
I watch the fights, dude. It's bad talent against bad talent. All right. Hold on. Let's go over the lightweight division in Bellator because that's the second best. I think we can all agree the second best fight promotion out there is probably Bellator, right? Of MMA, not of kickboxing. If we want to go kickboxing, we can talk about Fury. We can talk about all those other ones all day, of course. But all of MMA, let's go over that light heavyweight division. Vadim Nemkov is the champion right now. He's a pretty good fighter. He's pretty good. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's good. Could he contend against the top 10? Yeah, he could probably beat some guys in the top 10 in the UFC. Sure. Who gives a shit?
All I'm saying.
Number one contender, Dustin, is Corey Anderson. Number 2 contender is Phil Davis. Number 3 contender is the heavyweight champion of Bellator, Ryan Bader. The number 6 contender is 90-million-year-old Lyoto Machida. Is the number 6 light heavyweight. They don't even rank top 15. They only rank top 10 because they don't have 15 fighters to rank.
Okay. I think you're missing what I'm saying. You're acting like I'm saying Bellator is somehow stacked against UFC. It's not. What I'm telling you is that there's guys globally in these promotions that are younger and that can come into the UFC and contend in the top 10. And they can compete with the UFC. These guys aren't all trash cans. And a lot of the UFC talent that they pull are from little-ass promotions in Ireland or little-ass promotions in England or little-ass, and then they come in and in 2 years, they tear the UFC a new ass. So I'm not going to sit here and say that globally there's nobody that can come in and fight in the UFC. That's not true. It's just not true.
Of course, because that's where they're pulling from. They're pulling from fighters globally. But we're talking about promotion to promotion. That's what we've always talked about.
Okay,
promotion.
That's our disconnect. That's our disconnect. That's our disconnect. That's why I was actually pointing that out during the show. I want to make that a point. That's our disconnect. Do I think
globally that the smaller global promotions, a lot of them are owned by the UFC. Those guys are mostly UFC fighters. They're under. This is the thing about the UFC that people don't realize, and I know that we've talked about it before, so I know you guys realize this. The UFC is paying fighters that haven't fought in the UFC ever. They are. They just are. They have guys under salaries at other promotions. They pay guys. They used to pay guys at PFL. That's a fact. That's a fact. They used to pay guys, and I think they still do pay guys at PFL. PFL wasn't owned by the UFC, but they paid fighters to go there to get training, to get ready for the UFC. If we want to act like you can go, that Francis Ngannou can go to Bellator, and now Bellator can rival the UFC, just wrong.
I never said that. That's never.
I'm not saying you, Dustin. I'm saying in general, because there are people who do claim that. There are people who claim that Ryan Bader can come into the heavyweight division and create problems, which is a fucking joke. If Ryan Bader came into the heavyweight division, he's out. He's outside of the top 10. He's not beating any of those guys inside the top 10. If Vadim Nemkov came into the light heavyweight division, yeah, maybe he could beat a guy in the top 10, but he's not touching that top 5. If Gerard Mouassi comes back to the UFC, which he failed, I was a huge fan of him. Huge fan of him. If he came back to the UFC in the middleweight division, God, I don't even think he'd be ranked right now. That's my point. That's always been my point. Is that these top guys in these other promotions want to talk all their shit. Patricio Pitbull. I love watching Patricio Pitbull fight. He is an entertaining fucker. He's quick. First of all, he's roided out of his mind. Let's get that straight. But he's also quick, fast, and he is a fun watch. Those Chandler battles he had were fucking fantastic. If Patricio Pitbull came to the UFC, he'd be minced meat. He'd be minced meat. Could he fight against Michael Chandler? Yeah, it was a bad matchup for Michael Chandler. He is not a good matchup for Michael Chandler. Any other guy like a fight style like that would create problems for Michael Chandler. Patricio Pitbull, it would never actually ever contend in the UFC. And I'm tired of people talking their shit about it because it is like Broadway. The fucking UFC is Broadway, is on Broadway show. The rest is off.
Here's another thing about, you remember you mentioned Anthony Pettis. And Anthony Pettis actually came out of the UFC on a win streak, by the way. But here's why no one's talking about Anthony Pettis, because he walked on the PFL stage, and he didn't just get beat. He got his shit pushed in. He got his shit pushed in the PFL. That wasn't even competitive. I was expecting better than that. Maybe take a loss, but he got fucked up. Like twice. Got fucked up. I'm not saying any of these promotions will ever be better than UFC because that's going to take Dana White fucking up somehow or that company going south. That's the only way that's ever going to happen, which I don't see that ever happening, especially in my lifetime. Maybe in the next 30 years or something. But no, I never said promotions were better. What I'm saying is that there are people, like you said, there are people out there that think these UFC fighters, that some of them are literally just superior to the rest of the world because they're on the UFC roster, and that shit is not true. That shit is not true. Not true at all.
No, but they are considered the best of the best with the highest potential. They just are. It's like making it to the league and then failing. You made it to the league, though. You made it to the NFL. It's like making it to the NFL or the NBA and failing. You're still considered one of the best basketball players in the entire world if you made it. Doesn't matter how badly you fail. If you made it to the UFC, you are what you could create problems in any other promotion just because you made it to the UFC.
CM Punk made it to the UFC, so that's not.
Oh, dude, fuck off. That's a marketing campaign. That was a marketing campaign, dude.
Let's not do
The
that.
marketing campaign. And real quick, Anthony Pettis' win streak was against fucking Donald Cerrone and Alex Morano.
Yeah.
Not great.
Like, I just forgot that he fought some fucking scrub that was in like the top 30. Come on, bro. He's still good enough, and he got his shit pushed.
Yeah, Anthony Pettis at one point was at the top of the world in the MMA, but he got old and he got bad.
And Sergio
and he had to leave.
We talk about Sergio. Sergio wasn't terrible in the UFC at all. I just think
he wasn't. And Sergio's on a tear right now. I would be interested to see Sergio. That's the one guy I'd be interested to see come back to the UFC. The one guy in another promotion right now. Before it was Michael Chandler. I watched Michael Chandler fight, and I was like, I would love to see Michael Chandler fight in the UFC to see what he can do. If Sergio Pettis came back to the UFC, that would be interesting because there's always exceptions to the rule, and they're very entertaining when they happen. And Sergio Pettis might have found something within his training camps that he has gotten way better at because he is on a fucking tear. He's one of the best fighters of the year. Not just for, and he is on a fucking tear right now.
So me and Alec are going to end this argument. I'm going to end it right here. If I ever gave you the impression that I thought Bellator was going to ever end up better than the UFC as a promotion, I think me and you both know that's stupid. My end of the day argument or end of the day point was that there are guys around the world in these promotions that is not the UFC that can come in and definitely compete. And just because they don't have UFC gloves on, does not mean they're not top notch.
Yes, but those guys have already been checkmarked. The ones around the world are not in one. They're not in, usually not in one championship. They're not in Bellator and they're not in PFL. They're somewhere else, and they've already been checkmarked by the UFC. They were checkmarked fucking years ago by the UFC. It's like Barcelona, Barcelona, the football team. It's like Barcelona. And most of the Premier League teams in England too, and all the Spanish teams. They fucking checkmark their guys and go, that guy in Africa, he's really a Barcelona player. It's the same thing. The UFC does that. They go, that guy in Fury, that guy's a UFC fighter. That's what they do.
All right, guys, we're going to end this headline discussion right now because we have a fight card to preview, if we totally didn't forget about that, obviously. UFC Vegas 47, Hermansson versus Strickland. Actually really looking forward to the main card, but not necessarily the main event. That is my...
Alec hates Strickland, dude. As soon as he hears Strickland's name, it's over. He is a good fighter, though. It's going to be entertaining. I understand why you don't like it.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun for sure. Let's start with the featherweights. Let's start with Julian Rosa versus Steven Peterson. I have Rosa winning. I forgot why. I think I was looking at his record, and it was probably more impressive than Steven Peterson. That was probably why I picked Julian Juicy J Rosa to win. Let's see. I know that's his nickname.
I love it. That is awesome.
Juicy J, that's right.
I just want to pick
won by Darce choke. He's won by flying knee, Darce choke, some ground and pounds, lots of chokes actually that he's won. Kick to the head, KOs. So I think he's probably gonna take it. What do you think, Alikar?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't really care about either of these guys, to be honest, and I know we probably should stop saying that as a fight show. but I mean, this is a big nothing fight. La Rosa, Rosa. The guy has always put on a show in any fight he's in. I remember his dart stroke. I remember his flying knee. Beating Jourdain is a no. That's a no joke victory. That's a real win. But I just don't understand the putting. This is such a prelim fight. It's such a prelim fight. That's what bothers me about it. It's a prelim fight. It should be a prelim fight. There's no business being on a main card. I'm going to agree with you just so we stop talking about it and move on.
Any comments, Dustin, on this fight?
UFC Vegas is a prelim fight, if you ask me, other than the damn main event. Most of these names, unless they had a really good co-main, ain't big. I think one fought on the Contender Series. Both. Dude, there's not some huge book on these guys. Both of them have taken losses in the UFC. They're both trying to just get there. I don't have too much to say about either of them. You know, neither of them, entice me. The next fight entices me, but this one, it doesn't. Like, I don't think I might even not watch this one if you really ask me. And people say we should stop saying that, but let's be real. I'm not going to stop saying it because I'm just telling you. I'm telling my people the truth. I'm just telling people.
All right, so let's move on then, since we don't really care much about this fight. The next one we do care about, obviously, is the middleweights. We got Treyshawn Gore, Mr. Vicious, actually is his nickname, versus Bryan Battle, which obviously we're huge fans of. I guess I'll start. I think even though Gore is really impressive, obviously he is undefeated. His only loss was a long, long time ago, like basically in his amateur years. So this guy's no joke. And he's obviously, he's won a couple. Oh, Bryan Battle's nickname is also Pooh Bear, if anyone wanted to know that. It's really cute. But Bryan Battle is really, really great on the floor. And I've always been a huge fan of anyone who pretty much practices their jiu-jitsu to the max, and Bryan Battle is one of those guys. So that's why I think if it goes to the ground, Bryan Battle has this, and I think he's going to win this fight. So, Alec Carr, what do you think about this fight?
I think Bryan Battle wins it no matter where it goes. I mean, the guy is super impressive. That season of Ultimate Fighter was, and thank God Dustin killed, and I think Monique too, killed me over not watching it live because it was so fucking incredible.
You're a weirdo. If you got ESPN Plus, dude, let's say you're on traveling for work and you ain't got shit to do, bro. You need to sit your ass down.
Oh, dude, I always got shit to do when I'm traveling for work. That Ultimate Fighter season, that was a lot of talent. A lot of those guys are going to end up fighting in the UFC at some point again. Those guys were all fucking really good. Treyshawn Gore and Bryan Battle, this is the fight that was supposed to happen for the championship of the Ultimate Fighter. Bryan Battle was the most impressive guy in that his path to victory in that Ultimate Fighter was extremely hard. He had to fight against Petrosky, who's a fucking monster, and Ramonov, who was also a monster. And he got through it, I'm not going to say with ease, but what he did to Petrosky was, oh my God, he annihilated that man. And let's not take away his striking. I know that's not what you were trying to do, Monique. This guy's stand-up is really good too. I mean, he stood up with a guy like Petrosky and looked him right in the eyes for a while and exchanged, and then took him down after he hurt him. Bryan Battle, I'm warning everybody, Bryan Battle is here and he's gonna create problems. That being said, Treyshawn Gore is also here and gonna create problems in the UFC. Both of these men are just. I'm so excited that this fight is actually going to happen. I think it's too early in both of their careers for this fight to happen, though, because they're just getting started. I would much rather see this as a top contender fight because that's how good both of these guys are. That's their potential. That's where they could land. I'm definitely picking Brian Battle, though. He's a much more rounded fighter. Treyshawn tends to get a little carried away and thinks he's going to outpower people. He's going to try to do that again. If he tries to do that against Brian Battle's it's going to be a long night for Treyshawn Gore. But this is the most exciting fight of the night. If you can't tell by my voice and how excited I am, definitely picking Brian Battle, though.
All right, Dustin, do you have any comments on this fight?
The reason this fight's happening is because it was the real Ultimate Fighter finale. That's the reason they actually set this up, because Gore got hurt. Gore is a monster. Gore is really, really good stand-up, pretty elite guy. If I've watched him strike, he has very, very clean striking. He's probably a lot more technical than Brian Battle is. A lot more technical. Here's a problem with Brian Battle. Brian Battle is a very long and just physically gifted human being when it comes to physicality. Just physically gifted. Like, you really can't ask for more of a body when you're fighting. You know, how his reach, you know, his center, dude. That dude he's a big guy too. He's not as buff as Gore is, but he's huge. He's a very big boy. And they named him Pooh Bear. That's actually really good. That really was random. I remember he explained it. He was like, it just was random. Like, he was like, it just happened. We stuck with it. He thought it was funny. And that really attests to his personality. You know, a fighter wouldn't always want to be called Pooh Bear. But I think he's a very loose guy, and he's a fun guy, and, you know, he has a really good personality. I'm rooting for him because I know his personal story. I'm definitely going to Brian Battle here. I hope that he succeeds in the UFC. You know, I hope that his family gets a better opportunity and, you know, to rise and stuff like that. I think Brian Battle takes it because Gore might be the more technical striker, but I don't think Gore's going to try to take him down. And Battle's super, super tough. Super, super tough. I think he'll. I don't think he's going to knock him out, but I think he'll get the decision. Unanimous.
All right, so we're moving
Can I throw this out there just real quick? Brian Battle pulled off a ninja choke. That's it. I'm done. Pulled off a ninja choke in a fight. I'm done. For those who don't know what a ninja choke is, go look it up. It's hard. It's really hard to pull off in a fight.
Fair enough. All right, so we're moving on from a fight that we cared about, and then we're moving on to a fight that I super do not care about. Okay, we're talking about the light heavyweight, Sam Alvey versus Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's going to win. I'm not a huge Sam Alvey fan. Brendan Allen, you know, I think is the better fighter. You know, he's the better striker. I just think that's basically all I have to say about that because I don't care about this fight. I don't care. I know how we said we shouldn't say all these things, but we're just being honest at the end of the day. That's why we do this show, right? So, Alec Carr, I can see from your expression that you're like completely bored about this subject. So,
are we still talking about a fight?
Yeah.
Sam Alvey's still in the UFC for some reason.
I know, right? Yeah, there you go.
This guy's just a punching bag at this point. Brendan Allen doesn't win this fight. He doesn't belong. That's all I got to say. If Brendan Allen doesn't win this fight, he doesn't belong in the UFC. Sam Alvey is literally a punching bag at this point. He is just an old man getting beat up. It's sad to see. Dustin and I talk about this, and Monique talk about this all the time. There are certain guys that should just retire and be forced to retire, be forced to move on from the UFC. At one point, Sam Alvey was a legitimate UFC fighter, but he is okay with not getting paid very much money and with getting punched in the face. So Dana White will continue to pay him because people know his name. If Brandon Allen doesn't win this fight, he doesn't deserve to be in the UFC. And I was a Brandon Allen fan. So
true. All right, Dustin, do you have any comments on this lackluster fight?
Sam Alvey is another fighter that I don't understand how he's not cut. It makes zero sense. It makes zero sense. Dana's cut other people for worse. I mean, for less. My bad. Let me just switch that. He's cut other people for less. Better fighters, too. I agree with Alec. I think the reason that he still has a contract is because he's willing to get his ass beat for nothing.
For nothing.
I mean, at least when Donald Cerrone was getting his ass beat, it was by like top-notch fighters. You know, I mean, yeah, Alvey's getting beat up, and Brendan Allen, man, I think this is one of those fights. This is another point I agree with Alec on, that he's lost to some really good guys. He's lost to some good guys. And he's beaten the people he's supposed to. And I think this is another fight where Dana's just looking at a fighter like Brendan Allen's like, do you want to be here? Do you want to be here? Do you want me to invest in you? Do you want me to move you up to the next level? Because if you let this dude beat you, I don't have anything to do with you. You're probably going to follow his ass out the door. And so I agree with Alec here. This is a fight that almost Dana's looking at like, show me you want me to be here, because when I put you against guys that are a challenge, you lose. But I put you against guys you're supposed to beat, you beat. So I need you to do something. I need you to wake up. Poking with the stick. I need you to wake up a little bit. That's basically what I see it as.
All right, let's move on to a fight that's actually more interesting. We have the welterweights. We have Shafka Ramonov versus Carlston Harris. So I think I got that right. So Shafka is like, I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's amazing. I think he's a beast. I think he is the future of welterweight, in my opinion. I think he's gonna win this fight personally. Alikar, I'm straightforward with this. So like, those are all the comments that I have to make about it. Do you have any comments about this fight?
Get ready for a choke. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. This guy, and if for those of you that don't know this guy's name, because a lot of people don't know this guy's name, you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention in this fight, and I highly encourage all people who are casual fans of the UFC to watch this fight as well, because if you watch this fight, you'll understand the future of this division. Like Monique said, Shafka is an absolute, the Nomad is an absolute monster on the ground. He's got power too. Not great power. He's not a great striker, don't get me wrong. But he's also 27 years old and has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 chokes. 7 chokes to his name already. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty damn impressive. This guy will grab a hold of your neck. He will find your neck, and he will put you to sleep if you don't tap. Shafka is an absolute beast. Carlston Harris, I like the guy. I like watching him fight. You're going to sleep, man. If you better get ready. Get that hand ready to tap. Seriously, just get it ready to tap at the beginning of the fight, because it's coming. I think this is a submission. I don't think you can pass the second round on this fight.
True. All right, Dustin, do you have any comments on this fight?
I mean, how can you keep arguing with people who have the same strategy as Khabib? I didn't keep arguing with these guys. I don't know. You're right, dude. I don't know how I can argue with it. Like, I'm one of those guys I'll create an argument out of anything. I swear to God. Give me 30 minutes and I'll be back. Like, here's the thing about this dude. He's a fighter that nobody wants to fight. And I'll put it this way, the casual fans. If you like playing the UFC 4 game, let's say you like playing it. There's a couple fighters I hate fighting. And one of them's Cosman. Because he annoys the fuck out of me. All that dude does is grab my legs. And it pisses me off, and it's annoying. So here's the thing. It's in real life too. Guys don't want to fight dudes like this, bro, because they're fucking annoying. They're so annoying. Like, I'm serious. Just like people don't want to fight, Khabib's boy. There's a reason, because they don't want to deal with the shit. They'd rather just, go out there and fight a little bit. This guy is going to rise up to the top 170. And he's going to win this fight. It's a no-brainer to me.
True. All right. We are close to the end right here. We have the co-main event. We have Punali Soriano versus Nick Maximov. And Maximov is undefeated, but Soriano has my heart in this one. I think he has a lot of heart. I think he's tough. I hope he wins, but at the same time, Maximov is a beast, so I wouldn't put it past him if he didn't win against him. So I'm picking Soriano just because I'm picking with my heart in this one, because I really like him as a fighter and as a person. But at the same time, am I worried about this fight? Of course I am for him. All right, Alikar, do you have any comments on this co-main event?
Yeah, this is actually a little. This is more exciting. I shouldn't say that. The main event's going to be fun to watch. I don't really care for either of the fighters. Soriano. Last time we saw him was the last time Brendan Allen looked like himself. We talked about him earlier, obviously. Last time Brendan Allen looked like himself was against Soriano. And we were all a little bit disappointed. Soriano does have a heart. He's got a heart of a champion. I don't know if he has the skill of a champion, but he definitely has the heart of a champion. And I would love to see him win this fight. I am really interested in this fight because this is really one of the first guys we're going to see that has been under the Diaz brothers since like his beginnings. The Diaz brothers are his coaches, and he is an elite level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist. I know he's American. I get that. I understand it. But he is elite level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist. He's gotten the guy is absolutely a beast on the ground. I'm excited to see what he can do. We saw him against Cody Brundage get a unanimous decision in the Volkanovski Ortega. He was on the prelims of that card, and he was very impressive in that on both the ground and his feet. I'm excited to see this. I want to see if he's got the same like gimmick as the Diaz. Well, it's not a gimmick with the Diaz brothers; it's who they are. But I want to see if he's that same kind of guy. If he's gonna fuck around and have fun. But if he's gonna go in the middle of the octagon and lay down, that would be fucking hilarious. Be a callback to the Diaz brothers. I really hope he does it. I don't count on it, but I hope he does it. I am torn on this one. I'm gonna disagree with you, Monique. I'm gonna go with Maximov. If you ask me why, I wouldn't be able to answer. The Soriano loss against Brendan Allen does concern me. I love Soriano. He's a fun guy. He seems like a really good guy, whereas Brendan Allen seems like a huge douchebag. As a former fan, I feel like I'm allowed to say that. But we'll see. Hopefully, Soriano bounces back and shows off the talent that we thought he had. But I'm picking Maximov. He's so well-rounded. He can go on the ground. He can stand up with you, too.
All right, Dustin, do you have any comments on this fight?
I'm not sure if Maximov's going to try to take it to the ground. I'm not too sure of him trying to take it to the ground and hold him there. Soriano, he's one of those aggressive fighters, man. He is basically just copying the status quo of Hawaiians. Hawaiians ain't no joke, man. They like to bang. That's just what they do. They're not slow. They like to get in the pocket. They like to bang. They don't mind taking it. They don't mind giving it. So Maximov with that whole decision shit, I'm gonna tell you right now, I wouldn't plan on it. I wouldn't plan on it. If you wanna beat this guy, you better figure out how you're gonna tap him, or you're gonna get him to the ground. Because if you stand up, it's gonna be a hell of a day. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those days at work that you're really not looking forward to, but you know you got to do it, and it sucks. And then you get out of it, and you just knew it sucked. And fighting a guy like Soriano sucks. That shit is never fun. That shit is never fun. And so, yeah, honestly, I'm taking Soriano here.
All right. So we have finally reached our last event, our main event, which is Jack Hermansson versus Sean Strickland, the battle of the middleweights. I am not a Sean Strickland fan, nor am I a Hermansson fan, but I am a fan of, y'all know I'm a fan of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Hermansson's got that down lock. I think Strickland would have problems on the ground. Basically, I'm picking Hermansson in this one. A lot of people might pick Strickland because he seems like the better fighter, but I just really don't like him, and I think he has some holes in his game, personally. So, Alec Carr, who do you think is going to win this fight?
Yeah, Sean Strickland could go fuck himself personally after his most recent comments. I mean, seriously, guy's a fucking douchebag. And I was in his corner when he came out talking how he grew up in a neo-Nazi family and he sought to get out. And he believed he did, and then he followed that up with, "If my son's a homosexual, I'm a failure." It's just the ignorance, just blatant ignorance. It's disgusting to me. Anyway, we won't talk political. And then you got Jack Hermansson on the other side who fucking didn't follow one of the unwritten rules in UFC and didn't cut his fingernails before he fought fucking Marvin Vettori and scratched them all up. Like, we got two douchebags fighting here. that's my thing. And I do like Jack Hermansson a little bit more because I'll give him credit when Kazmat Chimaev couldn't get a fight because, like Dustin said, nobody wants to fight him. Jack Hermansson was like, "Yeah, dude, I'll fucking wrestle this guy. I don't give a shit. I'll wrestle him." And he got destroyed, but he signed up for it. That shows lots of heart, lots of balls. It's showing, the initiative to stay active, to stay positive, to keep going, and not take a break. With that being said, Sean Strickland is on a hot streak right now. A hot streak. The guy coming off a win against Uriah Hall in July of last year. I am shocked when I watch Sean Strickland because he is a flat-footed fighter, man. He lays on his heels and he loads up that hand and those legs and he throws. And he's longer than Hermansson, if I remember correctly. Don't get me wrong. I think Hermansson's a hell of a fighter. I'm gonna say Sean Strickland's I'm gonna put my bias aside of personal life. I'm gonna say Sean Strickland's gonna win this fight. I don't know if he gets a knockout, but I think he does win this fight at the end of the night.
All right, Dustin, do you have any comments on this fight?
Sean Strickland's winning. I'll put it to you like that. I don't see Hermansson beating Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's one of those fighters, dude, that is just – he's one of those foam at the mouth guys, dude. he's a very, very – again, it's just never fun fighting this dude. He's tough. He's tough in every single aspect. And no, I like Hermansson's ground game. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's getting there. I think not Hermansson. I think Strickland's, like I said, he's a little bit longer. I think he's going to keep him away. And he's probably going to hit him with a few shots that Hermansson's like, "Man, if I come in here again, this shit going to happen again." I don't want that in my life. And with his personal comments and shit, I laugh at it because when, like Alex said the shit, I laugh at it. Don't take my laughing at it as condoning it. I'm laughing at it because I'm thinking about the comment that he talked about. And I just don't understand why the fuck you don't keep that to yourself. If you really think that, dude, if you really think like that, you just need to not tell people. Because it's just I don't understand what his motive is to saying that shit. I don't get it. But behold, he is a good fighter. Whether we like his personal comments or not, I think he gets Hermansson. I think he's going to beat him. So that's definitely my pick. Even if I was a betting man, I'd be taking Strickland.
All right. So, next week is actually really exciting, guys. It is Valentine's weekend, but it's also the weekend of UFC 271. We have Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker. I believe it's their second fight or their third fight. So, second fight, okay, because they feel like they've been fighting forever. That's why I say that. But all right, so we have Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, Jared Cannonier, Derek Brunson, Kyler Phillips, Marcelo Rojo, Bobby Green, and Nasrat Hasrat. So there you go. A lot of really great names in that main card. Can't wait to cover that.
Bam!
Bam Bam, that's right. Bam Bam.
Bam Bam. He's making his way back up the rankings. I'm so excited.
Yeah, he's gotten so much better. But we will talk about that next week. But this will do it for this week's edition of Fights and Wrapped, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you all next week.